But this is a story of violence that has been going on now for so long. And this violence needs to be condemned. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing today and what people need to understand is that, yes, under the guise of the right to defend itself, we are witnessing atrocities. Every country has a right to defend itself, but not through any means, not through war crimes, not through collective punishment.
Distress, she suggested that world leaders appear to be indifferent to the suffering of Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Let's take a listen to that.
I think the people all around the Middle East, including in Jordan, we are just shocked and disappointed by the world's reaction to this catastrophe that is unfolding. In the last couple of weeks, we have seen, a glaring double standard in the world. There is a glaring double standard here, and it is just shocking to the Arab world. This is the first time in modern history that there is such human suffering, and the world is not even calling for a ceasefire. So the silence is deafening, and to many in our region, it makes the Western world complicit.
Jordan is home to 40% of the total registered Palestinian refugees in the Middle East, according to the UN. That is simply a huge number, especially for a small... How you're feeling ever since October 7th?
I think the people all around the Middle East, including in Jordan, we are just shocked and disappointed by the world's reaction to this catastrophe that is unfolding. In the last couple of weeks, we have seen a glaring double standard in the world. When October 7th happened, the world immediately and unequivocally stood by Israel and its right to defend itself and condemned the attacks that happened. But what we're seeing the last couple of weeks, we're seeing silence in the world. Countries have stopped at just expressing concern or acknowledging the casualties, but always with a preface of declaration of support for Israel. And I just want to emphasize that what happened on this conflict did not begin on October 7th, although it has been being portrayed as that. Most networks are covering the story under the title of Israel at War. But for many Palestinians on the other side of the separation wall, on the other side of the barbed wire, war has never left. This is a 75-year-old story, a story of overwhelming death and displacement to the Palestinian people. It is a story of an occupation under an apartheid regime that occupies land, that demolishes houses, confiscates land, military incursions, night raids. The context of a nuclear-armed regional superpower that occupies, oppresses, and commits daily documented crimes against Palestinians is missing from the narrative.
Queen Rania?
The Palestinian people have for too long been living under oppression and a dehumanization. They suffer daily indignities and human rights violations, whether they're being jailed or humiliated or harassed. They do not have freedom of movement. There are over 500 checkpoints scattered all over the West Bank. You have a separation wall, which is deemed illegal by the International Court of Justice, that has separated the territories into 200 disconnected enclaves. And, you've seen the aggressive expansion of settlements on Palestinian land. And those have interrupted the territorial contiguity of the territories and has deemed an autonomous, independent Palestinian state not viable. So you are seeing all these, this is the background of this conflict. There's a hyperfixation. Christian, I'm arguing equivalence and double standards here. When the President of the United States is told that he has evidence, he has seen evidence of children beheaded, only to retract because the IDF said that there's no proof of that. That is confirmation bias. Even at your network, Christian, the CNN website at the beginning of the conflict reported a headline of Israeli children found butchered in an Israeli kibbutz. And when you read through the story, it hasn't been independently verified. Now, my question to you, would you publish such a damning yet unverified claim made by a Palestinian?
Queen
So,
Rania,
you know,
I just need to stop you right there, because
well, you would be concerned if there is division, but we are absolutely united in our stance. We all believe in the same thing. We are all feeling this pain. We all want the same thing. And so I think there's a lot of unity in the Arab world. And as I said, there is a sense of, do our lives matter less? You know, why is it that when people are coming to represent, you know, the Palestinian issue, at the top of an interview, they have to have their humanity cross-examined. They have to present their moral credentials. You know, do you condemn? And we don't see, you know, Israeli officials being asked to condemn. And when they are, you know, people are readily accept our right to defend ourselves. I have never seen a Western official say the sentence, Palestinians have the right to defend themselves. There has to be a collective call for a ceasefire. And I know that some who are against a ceasefire argue that it will help Hamas. However, I feel that in that argument, they are inherently dismissing the death, in fact, even endorsing and justifying the death of thousands of civilians. And that is just morally reprehensible. It is also short-sighted and not entirely rational, because, as I've said before, you know, if you manage to eliminate all of Hamas, what next? The root cause of this conflict is an illegal occupation. It is routine human rights abuses, illegal settlements, disregard to UN resolutions and international law. If we do not address these root causes, then you can kill the combatant, but you cannot kill the cause. So on the rubble of these destroyed buildings will emerge another group more determined and more motivated to do what Hamas did. So I think Israel needs to once and for all realize that if it wants its security, the surest route is through peace. You know, not the strongest military or the most capable intelligence services or the Iron Dome or the separation wall will safeguard Israel's security as much as peace would. And I think that is the track that we need to pursue now. And so, you know, we are seeing this when even in Western democracies, you know, freedom of speech is apparently a universal value, except when you mention Palestine. When people gather to, you know, in support of Israel, they're exercising their right to assembly. But when they gather for Palestine, they are deemed terrorist sympathizers or anti-Semitic. You know, so you know you're seeing these double standards, and it's creating a lot of disillusionment in the Arab world and in many who are just seeing the injustice. And I just want to emphasize, Christian, that at the end of the day, there is no military solution to this issue. Wars are never won. There are always losses on all sides. Victory is a myth that politicians make in order to justify immense loss of life. There can only, even if Israel goes and defeats every last, or kills every last Hamas member, then what? Haven't they left a trail of terrible memories, horrific memories, that will just create a new generation of resistance that is fiercer and more violent? Because, you know, at the end of the day, you can only have a political resolution to this. And my husband has for so long always emphasized that there can be no peace and stability in the Middle East without a political resolution. So even if you're an ally to Israel, you are doing it no service by giving it blind support.
Well, we hope
expediting and expanding the provision of lethal weapons to Israel is only going to expand this conflict. It's only going to prolong and deepen the suffering. There can never be a resolution except around a negotiating table, you know, and there's only one path to this, and that is a free, sovereign, and independent Palestinian state living side by side in peace and security with the state of Israel. That is the only path that's gonna get us there.